Hello and welcome back to the Back2Back podcast with myself, Nick Checketts.
And Paddy, the Rego.
As you can see, we are in the Biscuit Factory in Leith.
Yeah, we've changed location up.
And for episode... What episode is this?
It's episode 4 now.
And we're... Big shout out to the Biscuit Factory team. They've been brilliant, and we're going to be here on the next episode as well, which will be announced next week.
Next week, yeah, we're announcing that one.
So, Biscuit Factory.
We've got actually a bit of a funny story about this place, a bit of heritage here.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've played here, I think, how many years ago?
2 years ago?
2 years ago, and we got booked to warm up. I think it was for
Jasper. It was like a ski society thing, and the after party was here.
Yeah, and it was warming up. So we're warming up for, I think it was sold out. We're warming up for, I think Jasper was playing, and we'd been out.
Yeah, been out the night before.
Hadn't slept,
yeah.
And it's one of those ones where you just got to power through. And I think I met you.
And spoons.
And Dave. Dead, hadn't slept, had a pint.
Couple of the dogs.
Came through, played the set. It was a pretty good set.
Yeah, it was good. Good. It was good environment there.
And it's got so many little rooms.
Got lost.
Got lost a few times intentionally, and then at the end, basically, I think there was a lot of people up from England.
Yeah, there was a big after party basically at this. Like it was, I don't know if it was like a rented flat or.
It was up at the end of Princess Street, wasn't it?
Yeah, but so we went down to this party thinking like, okay, we're gonna get in, we were DJing. Turned up, they had a fucking bouncer on there.
There a bouncer says, where the fucking DJs that we just put you, and they says, oh, you're not on the list.
Yeah, not like in.
Excuse me?
But it was actually a house party, and they had a bouncer.
You would hope the DJs would get into the fucking party.
Yeah.
And weren't you on the list?
I was the only person on it.
And you didn't even know?
Nah, so I didn't know anyone there. I didn't deal with anyone organising it, so I don't know how I was on it.
So I think at this point in time, we just called it, didn't we?
Yeah, called it. Because sensibly, it's probably for the best.
But yeah, no, we that was the time we played, and I think we'd like to do some events.
Definitely do something in the future
events.
Again.
But yeah, basically we'd like to, for this episode, we want to introduce our next guest, Nightwave. How are you?
Hello, I'm good.
How are you getting on?
I'm very happy to be here,
Brilliant.
very relaxed,
What do you think about the venue? Like it?
beautiful, yeah.
And obviously, we filmed a bit of a sketch before the...
Sketch? I thought that was just kind of what you guys do every day.
Yeah, well,
You're saying you're not detectives.
The reason I'm dressed as this is because of a wee sketch. How did you find that? Did you? I'm naturally. You've done a bit of filming before in your time, haven't you?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah.
So, can you tell us a bit about that?
So I'm from Slovenia originally, and back home I was a child actor. So I did a few movies when I was a kid, and then I was in a soap opera for 2 years.
All right, is there anyone we would know?
Do you know many Slovenian actors?
So how did that all, how did you want to be an actor growing up then?
I think I just went to an audition when I was 7 years old, and then I just kind of did a lot of stuff, and then when I moved to London I started doing kind of background work and the odd mini kind of role here and there, but...
And sort of when did, you obviously said you're from Slovenia, what age did you come to the UK, or what was your thinking behind that? And
I think I was 18 when I moved, so 3 years ago, about 20 years ago. I just wanted to move to London to be a big DJ, and obviously the reality of it all was a little bit different, because back then there was no internet, there was no kind of didn't really know what it's going to be like, so...
Is there much of a scene in Slovenia?
There used to be, yeah. When I was growing up, it was a really, really good place for techno. Really, really good. So I got quite a good education on the club scene there.
Have they got a distinctive kind of sound, would you say? Or?
To be honest, I'm really not in touch now, so I don't know, but when I was growing up there in my kind of teenage years, it was very much about Detroit and Chicago,
Yeah.
techno and electro.
And when you were in Slovenia, what were you said you wanted to obviously be a DJ. What was the like when were you introduced to electronic music or your early sort of music experiences that kind of made you think like that?
Well, my dad's a musician, so music has always been a big part of my life. And then I guess just started going to raves, and you know how it goes. And then going to clubs, and then just deciding, oh, I want to do that. And then I actually used the money I made in the soap opera to buy my first turntables.
No way. So did you get 12 tens or something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And a really bad, I think, I was going to say a really bad Numark. I think it was a Numark mixer or something like that. I'm not saying that brand is bad, but yeah, it was kind of one of these like slightly dodgy setups. But yeah, to get that in Slovenia at the time, it was a lot of money. So
what kind of musician was your dad?
So my dad was in a really famous band at the time. Well, when I was born, he was in this. It was still Yugoslavia back then, and the band was called Gugu, and they were kind of. How would you describe it? It was like pop music, but it had like a slight sort of funk edge to it, and they were also quite political in what they were, in their songs and stuff. But my dad's, he's a jazz guitarist mainly.
All right, okay.
And you said obviously you got your first set of decks. Like, did you kind of self-teach yourself to mix, and what was the kind
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think a few pals kind of showed me a little bit, but I was just maybe a little bit too scared to ask, and there was no kind of places you can go and learn. So it was a bit trial and error.
Yeah, I mean,
and a lot of train wrecks from the start.
I suppose, yeah. Well, I learned on virtual DJ, and that was like coming. I used to sort of give mixtapes to people in school, and that's kind of how I learned.
That's what he still does.
Yeah. But so obviously learning on vinyl, does that help you, in the long run? Because a lot of people now learn on digital.
I mean, I think anyone that DJs should know how to beat match, whatever they're using.
Yeah.
But I'm in no way like a vinyl purist, and I'm super grateful for CDJs now, and I love the way, they improved my performance and just the ease of it all and the cost. I mean, vinyl is extremely expensive. It's in a way still quite an elitist thing. So
I'd say I'm going the opposite now. I'm buying a lot of vinyl now, whereas before I wasn't. I suppose I've just got more time on my hands in lockdown. But what were some of the early sort of records that you can remember, or the stuff you liked at the start when you were learning?
Trying to think. Well, I've always just been into quite fast techno, and at the time, trying to think. And my first kind of proper record that I bought was Baby Ford. So like.
Oh, yeah,
I was also buying a lot of acid, but to be honest, like it was quite hard to get records in Slovenia. We had one record shop in Ljubljana where I'm from, so it was quite tricky. And obviously, I was I had no money, So, but yeah, just like UR and Jeff Mills and kind of quite fast hard techno like that.
Yeah, and obviously London. Talk to us a bit about that. Like when you first went through, what did you do when you first went through there, and how were you?
What did I do? I kind of stopped, not stopped, but obviously it was a big change from living in Ljubljana to then going to London and getting used to London prices and just everything. So I just did whatever job I could really, and at the time, I'm trying to think, what did I do? So I worked as a makeup artist. I worked in like various beauty and makeup shops and counters and things like that. And then I did a degree. And during that time, I didn't really DJ that much. And then I think it was maybe around 2006 that I really decided that I really, really want to produce more. And kind of, I guess that was also the time of MySpace kind of coming on the scene and being able to connect to people and promote things. And then yeah, I just kind of went from there. And I think my first record was 2009, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you producing on back then?
That was Ableton, but like before that, I was using Logic, and then I was also kind of trying out with GarageBand, and like years and years ago, this program called Cakewalk, which was really quite archaic. But I guess, yeah, with arrival of Ableton and really getting to know that program, then kind of started taking off a bit more from there.
And sort of going back to London, you know, when you went through it, did you want to start playing DJing in London, or did you know anyone?
I did, yeah. So at the time I lived in a area called in Ealing in West London, which kind of had its own little micro sort of techno scene as well, with the different producers that were part of my friends group. So I got to know a few people through that, and just going to parties and
networking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, networking. Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously your DJ name is Nightwave. Was that a thing in London, or when did that all?
I'm not even going to go through all the dodgy DJ names I gave myself, honestly.
Well,
go on.
No. So the one that you can kind of find online before Nightwave was 8-Bitch, which is now sounds really silly, but at the time I was really into kind of video game samples and all this kind of stuff, and I didn't think anything would really happen, and then I signed my first record under that name, and I remember sending it to radio people, and I think it was Marion Hobbs. She was like, "We can't say bitch on the radio." So that I realized I need to change the name a little bit.
Yeah.
So I made a little list of things, and Nightwave kind of came.
How long have you been going under that name for then?
Probably since 2010, maybe. I think my first record, so I think it was 10 years ago now, 2011, I had 3 records out on the Nightwave that year.
So, you know, obviously those records, talk to us a bit about, you know, what was the point where you started dabbling with like producing till you got to the point where you could release a record? Because I suppose, personal perspective, I've kind of been at it for a good couple of years. It's only the last maybe year that I've actually got stuff that I feel good enough to release. So I've been like sending stuff out, but like, what was the sort of process there? Like, when did you know you had good stuff that you could send out to people?
I don't think you ever really know that you have kind of good. Yeah, this is an interesting question. I think I just felt that maybe the stuff is ready enough to send to people, but you know, I mean, I still sometimes kind of debate whether something is good, and you know, the martyr producer fucking complex. But I think around 2008, 2009, I started sort of approaching people a little bit with stuff, and just kind of grew from there, really. And
what's your sort of process with? Were you using like hardware, or were you like samples and stuff?
That's all software. Just like I mean, I could not. You know, hardware again it's expensive, so I think. I'm just, I can't, as much as I would love to have a really amazing fuck all big studio with lots of toys, you know, the reality is that I can't really afford that, like a lot of people.
I think people are too hung up on it, you know, like.
Well, I know a lot of, not that I know them personally, but you know, we all know of people who have amazing studios and their music is extremely boring, so I'm a big fan of idea before, you know, how you get there. I think the end result is the most important. With a lot of art, I think it's like that, you know. So. And
when you had the first, you know, what was the process, and did you know people you wanted to send to, like labels, like how?
Labels in mind for?
Yeah, I just kind of. So my first release was on. Was it Seed or was it? I think the first was on Slit Jockey, which was Starkey's label. So it's kind of. At that time, it was really just all about like kind of bass music and a lot of crossovers and kind of I hate to, post dubstep, I think they were calling it. So just, approached a few labels, and I really loved Starkey stuff, so he released one of my tunes, and I remember when first time he played it on Rinse, and I was just like screaming that my tune was getting played and stuff. And then I released on a label called Seed Rockets, no, fucking Records, and that was my first vinyl, so, and that was just, I don't even know what that style was, kind of a mishmash of things, but I guess it represents, where I was creatively at the time, just experimenting, which in a way is what
it's what music is.
It's all about,
Yeah, I think people get too hung up on, being too
like the perfection
specific to a genre as well. But what was kind of what was the response you got from those first releases?
Yeah, I mean, good enough to kind of get me to the next stage, and the tune that came out on Starkey's label then got picked up, and it came out on Ministry of Sound as well.
Oh, really?
On a compilation, so that generated a little bit of press, and people kind of got in touch, maybe wanting to hear more demos. And at the time, I had so much energy and fucking hunger that I was constantly just making tunes and, in a way, hustling, kind of. So things just kind of grew from there a little bit. And
did obviously in London, did you start getting some more gigs in London? Like, where were you playing? Where were you playing? Like, mostly down there?
I'm trying to remember. I think I used to play Corsica Studios a lot, and just like smaller nights, independent nights. And then I already moved to Glasgow in 2009, I think. God, I feel like we're going through a lot of dates here, so my brain's like, Yeah, I think I moved to Glasgow in 2009 for a little bit, and then I moved back to London, and so I was playing up here.
Why did you move up to Glasgow?
Well, I had a lot of friends here, and I loved Glasgow, and also it was just way, way cheaper, so at the time I just felt like I didn't really have to be in London anymore, because London can kind of really chew you and spit you out in a way, and I just felt I had enough, at that time I'd been there for a while, so I went to Glasgow and then back again just to check if I made the right decision. I was like, definitely the right decision, and then I've been here now for, not here, where are we now? Edinburgh, no, we're in Edinburgh.
Where are we?
I live in Glasgow, I still remember where I live,
So Glasgow, obviously when you moved up, did you start playing places in Glasgow, and
I started the
connections you made?
Residency at La Chita almost around the time I moved, so that's, I think it's 8 years now. So I played there a lot, and then just kind of all around Glasgow and in Edinburgh as well.
And so what La Chita, talk to us a bit about that, like a great club. I know with Craig Knowles, who we had on.
Pretty sure with Kenny as well. Kenny had some involvement with the Cheetahs. Did he have a residency there as well?
Yeah, I think Kenny and Dan had.
Talk to us a bit about that club. Obviously, it's I love the small spaces they are.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of small, dark, loud, smoky places.
Rave cave.
And I feel very at home there, and I really miss it now. It's just, to me, it's just like home, La Chita.
And your residency, do you sort of create that yourself, or do you play mostly yourself, or get guests in, or what's your kind of strategy with that?
I just started off, so it's called Nightwave. Obviously it took me a long time to come up with that name. I used to, get a lot of guests to play. The opening night was with Claire Fifi, and we played Back2Back.
Shout out to Claire.
And huge shout out to Claire, and lots of love. So we played the Back2Back. I think it was all like boogie set that we played, with a very infamous after party after. That was a lot of fun. So just and then I had some quite big guests, and then sometimes it's just me playing all night. Sometimes it's just locals and me.
Brilliant. So I mean, you spoke about it before, but kind of what's if you had to sort of your music philosophy in terms of, playing out, how would you kind of describe that, or the stuff?
Just no rules and fun, and just I'm a big fan of just really going for it, and I'm a raver by heart, so just anything with a lot of energy and just no pretense, just good.
And we spoke about it with the Craig and Oates boys. Like, a lot of people are interested. They're always asking, like, how, every DJ's got a different process of digging for music. What's sort of your process? I think for me, I used to listen to mixes religiously, and I think a couple of years ago, and of my favourite artists, and pick out little bits, and then if I heard a track, I'd try to idea it, and then I'd see what the label was, go in the back catalogue.
Yeah, I think it was the same for me, but I think as I became busier with traveling and stuff, all of that kind of suffered a little bit, just because I just didn't have so much energy, and then it was a little bit more, just not dedicating as much time or the amount of heart that went into it. It was more like, right, gig tomorrow, must find new music, and now I will download, and then some promos, and that's me, kind of thing. So yeah, maybe that's something I would maybe like to come back to a bit more, and that's what lockdown's been quite good for, just not feeling that pressure so much.
Yeah, I was saying to one of my mates the other day, I found that, like, before, when I always had gigs, it would kind of be, you wouldn't plan a set, but you'd know, like, you want to get stuff for, like, early on in the night, but, like, because there's no sets, I'm just getting a lot of sort of faster paced stuff, which is good. But
music taste. Well, it's not music taste in general, but I'd say the way I look for tunes nowadays definitely changed. Just because I know, I'm not going to be playing out at all.
Yeah.
So you're looking at completely more like abstract stuff, different stuff, but also still try to plan if you can fit into a set when you're going back to DJing. I've got hundreds of tunes all chucked to the side that I'm ready for.
And what kind of, when you're in Glasgow, you said you were travelling, were you starting to get bookings abroad then, or what was it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, I got into Red Bull Music Academy in 2011, I think it was, 10 years ago.
What's the kind of process of getting into that?
Giant grueling questionnaire. I think it was kind of designed to kind of break you a bit before you even just to really see.
So what actually is it? What's the Red Bull?
So RBMA it's actually, so they stopped it now, which is a real shame, but it's been going for 20 years or something, like a long time. And basically they just every year they would select, I think, 2 groups of 30 people around the world, different kind of music, genres and whatever. Mainly producers, but also just kind of instrumentalists, vocalists, things like people like that. And then it's 2 weeks residential somewhere around the world. So mine was supposed to be in Tokyo, but then do you remember the horrible tsunami and earthquake happened? So they moved it to Madrid, and I went to the Madrid one. And then it's just like insane. It's just 2 weeks of lectures with, people I had were like Doom and Erykah Badu and Frankie Knuckles, sitting in a room like that. It's just insane.
What did you take away from it? What's like?
Oh, lots. I mean, we had, every day we would have maybe 2 guests that lectured, and it was just very intimate, and being able to speak to someone like that's very established, just learning about the process or the industry, or just really learn a lot like that. And then we also did a lot of studio work, so they set up, I think it was maybe 10 or so just studios from scratch with everything you could think of, and they had like a library where you could go and just be like, oh, could I please get a 909?
No
And
way.
it was just insane. Really, really, I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And I
Who
think
would
that
you say
helped.
your favourite, out of them, all the people that were doing the lectures and everything, who was your favourite one?
Probably Erica Badu, because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
So I was really like, I was just shaking and being very like, but Doom as well. I mean, I feel very, very lucky to have, because he didn't do many interviews, so for him to be even doing something like that was very, very special, and to see him without a mask as well.
Yeah, and did you meet some good people on the course as well? Like, was it quite a variety of people?
Yeah, really good. So in my group, the people I kind of stayed in touch with most were so Unit, Crystal Clear, Asma from Nguzo was also in my group, Bryn Mawr. Trying to think who else. Yeah, it was really special.
Brilliant. And when did you get your first booking abroad? Because we spoke about it with the Max and Mitch, and the feeling when you first got that sort of booking abroad, and like it's a big moment,
process.
you know what I mean?
Trying to think. I think I played abroad, like when I still lived in Slovenia, when I was just starting out. I think I played in Austria. Obviously, Slovenia borders quite a few countries, so like a few places to play there years and years ago. But I guess with what I'm doing now, I think my first show was in Bucharest, which was quite interesting. I think maybe that was like 12 years ago or something.
And did you have an agent at that point, or
No.
was it just
No, it just came
yourself?
through MySpace, I think.
brilliant? And sort of, how did you feel when you got that?
Yeah, great, but also just kind of, obviously very nervous a little bit, and just traveling on your own and then meeting promoters on your own and all this kind of stuff was...
Yeah, because we were obviously speaking to the Craig and Knowles boys, and they do it as a duo, which they said it was a lot easier because obviously, it is going to a new country and meeting promoters and on your own, it is difficult. I mean, they also, they spoke about how the first couple of years they just went hard, like, and it was just, did you drink while you were in these shows, or what? Because some DJs have different strategies now.
Yeah,
because some people get into
yeah, I like to party, so there was definitely a lot of partying involved.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a necessity almost as well, just to kind of almost you feel like you need to fit in a little bit.
Yeah, because like everyone at the party, that they're on a level, aren't they? And it's like you kind of want to be on that same level, don't you?
Match it.
But we've had a couple of guests before, and I think I told it before. Malgrab played one of our shows, and then when we were going to book him again, they said, he's coming with a tour manager next time because he almost missed his last show.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of some festivals and stuff that you've done, are there any that sort of are memorable for you? And do you prefer playing festivals than club shows? That's the Polish.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, it's all good. We're the Polish now anyway.
We are the sheriff. So I love playing festivals, but I think I prefer playing clubs. I just love. It's just very me, I mean, clubs have been a big part of my life for so long. But yeah, it just feels more at home. But yeah, who doesn't love a nice
What's your favourite club to play? Like your go-to?
Probably La Cheetah or Sub Club, just because it's. I feel like it's
Most
home
comfortable,
and. But I like trying to think. Clubs abroad that I really like to play are Blitz in Munich. That's like a club that really stayed in my memory, and a few places in Berlin. But definitely. And like clubs in Asia as well. I think that was quite an eye-opener, going somewhere so new and just seeing how the scenes are developing there and being born, and people really seem a lot more open-minded and kind of things are a bit more fresh there. So it's really nice to play somewhere like that, you know, like China and Korea.
I often found when I used to go to Turkey quite a lot, just with the family, and I always found, like when I was in the hotel, I always found the music was like 5 years behind. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they'd be playing this stuff, and I was just like, what the fuck is this music?
Yeah. I mean, when I go back home, I feel like the music is fucking a little bit behind. But in terms of like club music and some of the places I played, I was just amazed. I guess now everything is so global, and you know, people
streaming and everything.
Everyone, yeah. But I was just so impressed with the kind of scenes that were emerging in these places. It was exciting because it was like, I think in Europe and stuff, some places come with a lot of, they seem a bit jaded, and people seem a bit jaded or a bit judgmental or whatever.
Yeah.
But
it's almost like a set of rules you have to follow.
I guess, yeah. Whereas when I was in China, for example, really felt so free and exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the scene is like in Turkey, but I remember I used to go up to the resident hotel DJ, and just after a couple of drinks, and be like, let me on. He was absolutely having none of it. But going again about touring, did you ever bring any friends with you, like, at all, or did you just go solo?
Sometimes on my own. Sometimes I'll take a friend with me if they're up for it. But mainly you go on your own, really.
Have you ever had a tour manager or anything like that?
I'm not at a stage to have my own tour manager, but I've done a lot of touring as a support DJ. So, you know,
tour managers cause more trouble than.
Sometimes they really can.
No,
honestly, the ones that I've
nippy.
worked
That's
with
what they
were,
are, you know?
they like to party more than the artists. I tell you.
Yeah, most of the time we've had good ones, but
Yeah.
there's been a couple. We'll not mention on the show, but
I think maybe some tour. Oh, this is mean.
no,
Maybe some of them want to be artists, but then
I think you get that a lot.
I'm gonna get stick now from all the TMs.
They kind of want you. But as well, have you had any sort of touring? Have you had any like horror stories that you could share with us?
I mean, yeah, loads, but I'd probably need to have a good think. I mean, yeah, there's been things like ended up in hospital, or like accidents, or just stuff like that. It's not very nice, but I mean, lots of mischief happens on tour, and most of it I think I've like selectively forgotten. And a lot of it's probably not stuff to share, but I'll just say yes. There's been times.
Can you think of any?
What I've had? I've not been touring.
I think played. Did we not play Groove Festival?
Groove one, what was that? The one up north?
Yeah. I played that, and basically I drove up. I was opening the main stage, and I went up with a couple of friends, and I think we were meant to be staying in a hotel, but basically it was in the middle of nowhere in Inverness, and there was absolutely no taxi, so I ended up sleeping in the car and waking up, and I woke up in the middle of the field, and the whole I like slept through the whole like clearing up of the festival.
Oh my god!
And everyone had gone.
Wow.
My phone was dead, and I was just in this field, and I was like, my hair was like, I had glitter everywhere. I was like,
oh my god! Wow.
Fucking taken away.
So I was driving back down the A9, hardly even slept, and I was like, it was such a sunny day, and then there was an accident on that road, and I don't know if you know that road, but it's like single carriage, there's no like overtaking, so there was an accident, and I was on that road for about 6 hours, everyone like wondering where I was, and I was like, this is brutal, no phone. There was this little camper van, there was like this family on the sort of holiday, and they were like, here son, come and have a cup of tea because you look rough, honestly.
Oh,
but that was it was a good show though. But yeah, so
I have one actually. Just remembered that I think this is like one that a lot of my friends kind of bring up. There's a famous incident where I I sleepwalked from my hotel room and locked myself naked. So I think it was in Amsterdam, and I've just played and come back, and I was like, alarm and everything. And I think I went to the loo and then got the wrong door, like still half asleep, and then I remembered the door like closing and kind of waking up and realizing, oh no,
fuck.
and then going to reception and like, hi, sorry, I locked myself out, and there were people there as well. It was like maybe like 5 a.m. and the woman was like, have you got any ID? I'm like,
Wait,
where is the fucking ID? And I guess because it's Amsterdam, and I was like, I think she maybe thought I was like a prostitute or something. And then she was like, well, we're going to have to see some ID, and then blah, blah, blah. And so that was kind of a curious incident, which I now like always make sure that I have something in front of the door. Just
Stop
so
yourself.
So it doesn't happen again.
That's happened to me. Well, not quite like that, but after Ibiza, I always used to get mad hallucinations and brain zaps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I wonder why.
And that kind of, I remember just like I remember I used to work at Gleneagles Hotel. This was a few years ago, quite a few years ago actually. And like I was in a routine, like I used to be the porter, so I used to go into rooms and like put the camp beds up and that. And I remember it must have been after Ibiza, and it was like I woke up and I ended up like in a trance, like going into doing my own room, like putting the camp bed, like finding the camp bed and putting it up. But that was that was Ibiza for you, so it kind of mucked me up. But just
On that note.
on that note, moving on. I've seen you obviously do a lot of radio stuff in Glasgow. Is that right?
Yeah, I started a residency on Clydebuild this year, but that's about all the radio I
And
do.
kind of what stuff are you doing on that then?
A bit of everything really. I kind of use it as a little, maybe slight vanity project, just to be able to play some stuff that's not just like club music. So this year I've had I've done like a Jamaica special because I really love reggae and dancehall and dub, and I used to play a lot of that when I lived in London as well, because I lived in West London and we had some really, really good reggae record
I
shops.
suppose you've been coming up just when the dubstep scene was coming up as well.
I guess that was maybe a bit connected, but I just a lot of people don't know that, but I just really love reggae.
I love reggae as well.
So I did that, and I did a Brazilian music special as well, because I really love that. And I think it's just nice for me to be able to show some of my other passions that's not just...
I think I'm exactly the same. I love like sort of 80s dub, reggae and stuff. So I'm actually doing a mix myself for Project Radio next month. So I thought, because I've started a new alias, so I thought I'd do it, because I wanted to obviously showcase, another side, which, is that type of music that I like. So I'm going to do that, because there are a lot of mixes now, and it's be good to do something different.
Yeah, something a bit different, stand out a bit.
And you've got a couple of mixes coming up.
No, I've been doing a lot of hip hop stuff. Been working with one of my mates who's been rapping, so that was kind of like a changing scene for me, from going from like electronic music to then doing hip hop. I've always loved hip hop as long as I can remember, but I actually kind of prefer making it in a sense as well. It's a bit more creative. I'm working with vocals as well, something I've never really done. Like actually recording an artist, which I found quite a challenge at first, but it's more. I think it's a bit more enjoyable. There's a bit more creative element to it as well.
Yeah, I've done a lot of, I say a lot, but I've done a few records like that, especially with Fool's Gold. I work with MCs and on my own label as well. So I used to do a lot of that, and then I kind of just realized that maybe I should, just for kind of brand purpose, focus a little bit more on, I guess, like club music. But yeah, I absolutely love making that kind of stuff, and I think it's like you say, it's really good for you to just jump from different types of work,
because it opens your mind up a bit, and you start to understand certain things, like about tracks, and you're like, all right, okay, they've done it like that, or they've done this like that, and that's something I've definitely come to learn with listening to more hip hop, especially the sampling. I didn't realise how much sampling was used in it,
Yeah.
The majority of all the 90s hip hop was just all samples, like even kick drums and the hats and everything. But so it's quite interesting to like take a deeper dive into that and understand how it was all made back then. And you can see that even the comparisons with the kick drums and the 808s and everything into house and techno, like the hip hop, some of the kicks and the hip hop. And you've noticed some samples as well from hip hop tracks or used in house tracks as well.
Yeah.
And
That makes sense.
what was some of you mentioned? Obviously, some of the people you're working with. You know, you've done a bit of vocalist as well. You know, talk to us a bit about that.
Trying to think. So I try like to actually. I've remixed quite a lot of rappers. Like I guess D Double would be kind of a bigger name. Like I guess it's classed more as a grime MC or whatever. But I work with. I love working with women rappers. So I work with Rai, she's quite well known, I guess. And Ashniko, who was like, I found her on SoundCloud like a few years ago, and now she's huge. But I released a track with her on my label.
So did you get in touch with her then?
Sorry?
Did you get in touch with her? Yeah.
Yeah. So I got in touch with her, and we recorded in Red Bull Studios in London when she was when she wasn't really a big name, but now she's doing really, really well. And who else do I work with?
Are you still
Chippy.
working with her as well?
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not working with any rappers at the moment. I haven't for a few years. Like I said, I'm just like trying to. It's just as much as I love that and I love doing like different things. It's confusing, maybe for promoters because I'm mainly I'm a DJ, but I think when I was releasing so many different things, people are maybe a bit confused about what I actually play. So.
That's the
annoying in a way.
With the rappers, what was kind of the process of you working like with them? Did you have a sort of beat that you made up?
Yeah, I usually trying to think. I think all of them were just kind of me making instrumentals and then pitching and just kind of shopping around and seeing who would be interested.
And do you find, when you were like with an instrumental, do you find you are making the track around the vocal, or would the rapper work with your instrumental?
Yeah, it's more like that, I would say. So they would just try and use the instrumental, but also once we kind of found common ground, I can always do more editing or, it's like, or sometimes we ended up, there's a few times where the actual a cappella, I just maybe thought something else would work better, so I just used the a cappella and then built a track around that. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of mix and match.
And you say, are you on Ableton then? Is that what you use? Yeah. So have you tried other programs at all? Or I used to be on Logic, but I moved over to Ableton.
Same.
It's a lot better, I find.
Yeah, I don't find it very logical.
I'm a strong advocate for Logic.
Why though?
I just prefer it. I just like the layout. It's because it's when I started off producing, it was on FL, and I thought Logic was in it, and then I got Mac, and FL was in Logic, looked similar, and I was like, right, this is the one.
No, because I found that I just wasn't couldn't get the ideas out on Logic.
Logic's for me. I'm a strong advocate of it.
Well, so in your label as well, talk to us a bit about that. Like, what was why did you want to do that?
Just thought it'd be amazing and cool to have a label.
Yeah.
But obviously I just was very passionate, obviously, about just releasing my own stuff very quickly, but just finding other people, and at the time I was just really so interested in finding emerging artists as well, and new kind of sounds, and working with different people.
How long has the label been running for?
Well, it's about 8 years old now, but I haven't really released anything the last couple of years because simply I just found that I had too much on, so I decided that just need time out.
Have you ever thought about resurfacing it?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm very aware now of my own well-being, and I never want to burn out again. So once I feel it's time, I shall resurrect it.
What was your first signing on that label?
So I've done a few things myself, but then trying to think. So I've worked with DJ Dion. I worked with Pixel Lord, Big Dopey, Bossy Love, that was like an R&B record. I released also like a band called Tree Trunks. Like so, it was very varied kind of stuff. What's his name? Car Painter. So this I love that name. So it's a guy, a really amazing producer from Tokyo, who makes really crazy, energetic music. So he's doing really well now. So it was nice for me to just maybe give a few people a platform as well. But like I said, it was just a lot of work, and I do everything myself, and I just became very, very tired, with it all. And especially with the industry, like everything is changing so much with Spotify, and the whole format of everything was just so different. And to be honest, it's very hard to make money as a label. It's like a labor of love. So yeah, I'm just playing it a bit safer now.
Yeah, and the name, what was behind the name of the...
Checketts.
Yeah.
So Heka means magic in ancient Egyptian language.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and did you know anything about running a label, or did you ask people that you knew how to? Because obviously a lot of people watching might want to sort of start their own label. So
yeah, again, I think things are changing a lot as well. I had experience even from like my early days in London. A lot of my friends ran record labels, which at the time when it was just vinyl, obviously there were no downloads, there's no digital. So I knew a lot about that in the process of like distribution and PR and promotion and getting feedback and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, now I feel like I would have to learn a lot again, there's like completely different model, and then now everyone's talking about these bloody NFTs, and like I just feel like there's so much going on. So yeah, maybe just take a little break.
What was your best-selling record on the label?
Probably I'm trying to think. I think I only did 3 vinyl and the rest was digital, but the Big Dopey record did really well. And mine with DJ Dion as well.
So where do you see, the overall, your brand at the minute? Like what's your strategy in marketing yourself as a DJ? I know, like, obviously things have changed quite dramatically with Instagram and everything. Like, what's your current sort of views on and all that side of it?
I find it a bit of I find it a lot of work, to be honest. I feel like it's really moving. It's too much about, the personality or the so-called brand or whatever, and I just feel a bit tired of it all. I love what I do, obviously, but I'm not going to be like bending over backwards for, Instagram promo or like TikTok. I don't even know what TikTok is, to be honest.
That's the new craze, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just me, really, and then hopefully people, enjoy my music and like to see me play and have a good time. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I think Instagram is becoming a bit of a competition, and
it's kind of overshooting the music now, isn't it?
To stay sort of relevant, and that's what we find. But you've also done a lot for sort of gender equality in music. Can you just sort of discuss what you've done for that, and what your overall views on it?
What have I done on that? I guess. I run workshops for women and gender minorities.
What's workshop called?
So it's as a part of Producer Girls, which my friend Emma started. So there were like a few of us that were there from the start, also Iconica and Explicit and P-Jam, and we do free workshops for women and non-binary people, and whoever.
And so what would be in the workshop like?
So then we're called Producer Girls, so it's just teaching production, and we also help people get software. So obviously if anyone isn't able to, you know, normally we gave people software from the start whenever we could, like we select a few people through the questionnaire and things like that, and then just do free workshops. And it's mainly with Ableton, but because I can only teach Ableton, but also Fruity as well.
How long has this been running?
5 years.
5 years.
And sort of what would you say are some of the sort of challenges you've faced in the industry that you can discuss? Because I mean, from my perspective as a promoter, like running nights for the past 6 years, you know, for instance, a lot of my favourite DJs is Sonia Muner, and I often find that it's harder to book. Like I've went in to try and book some of my favourite DJs or female DJs, but it's sometimes harder like to book because they're more in demand. And then it looks from the outside that, you know, if you look at all my lineups, well, I mean, I only book one person at a time, but if you look at, they're all kind of men.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it looks at it from the outside.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So I feel like, you know, this is a conversation I've had millions of times, and I really think it's time that you start asking men about this, you know, because we are talking about this over and over and over again, and things aren't changing. So I think it's time to like really talk to the promoters and people that have the, you know, the power to really change things.
Yeah.
It's really exhausting for women artists to just bang on about this stuff and then nothing changes. And so whenever I get asked this, you know, I just normally say that really this is not our issue. This is mainly the issue of patriarchy and just the way, you know, the industry is, like not just music industry, everywhere. This world is built for men.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, the challenge is just every day is a challenge when you're a woman, not just in music and everything. So it's just like a general constant challenge.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I'm going to say, I guess.
And do you think it's improving or?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I guess in terms of representation, there's more visibility. But you know, now we have to be very mindful of being intersectional and making sure that all minorities are being represented and visible. So that's something that, you know, I also check with myself regularly. Like, what more can I do? But yeah, it all goes hand in hand. Like, but ultimately, when it comes to music, the people in power, so promoters, press, you know, bookers, they're the people that need to really
step up.
Yeah, I think, as I said, like with COVID, it was a really chance to sort of reset. But you know, we're seeing. We're not really seeing that's the case.
It's not, and it's really, really disappointing. And it's kind of like, you can imagine how exhausting it is, like, to constantly fucking go on about this, and then you've got another lineup of the same fucking V-neck guy DJs, and it's so boring. And I think it is getting better, but this is really the chance to make it, like, really make, you know, go to that next step.
It's that people just don't, like, as well, the agents, the bookers, they don't want to burn bridges with the people, and it's just, it goes round in circles.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't know what we can do. No. You know, maybe people stop going to those nights that are not showing. You know,
they should stop.
You know, because that's where the money is coming. So.
But you see all these.
Maybe it's time we stop supporting these people.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. It's almost like politics behind it in a sense.
Yeah.
We're back. We're back to the Back2Back podcast. I can't even speak. I'm gonna have a little eager. So, last week with Craig Knowles, there was a story about when they ruined 18th birthday in Forfar, and basically I ruined an 18th birthday as well, and I wasn't even there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So basically, there was a guy called Simon Bays. I don't know if anyone knows him, but he's a bit of a character in Edinburgh. He's down in London now. But basically, we were sort of promoting nights, and he basically, we've seen all these ABBA tribute nights like booting off, like just random ABBA tribute nights like selling out, and we thought like obviously we were doing underground stuff, and we got together and says, why don't we do a Michael Jackson tribute?
Wow.
Michael Jackson tribute.
So that you would speak.
We would promote it, but we would come up with...
Not you. You would be the act.
No, I wouldn't be the act.
Okay.
We would. We've seen all these nights booting off, and we were like, right, we'll come up with a club night and just make a quick buck.
What did you call it?
So we called it Time Warp, and it was a tribute to Michael Jackson, and we put up these graphics, Michael Jackson, everything. Hired a label on a Saturday night, and basically we thought this is gonna go off. And a couple of weeks in, 1 ticket sold. We're like, fucking hell. And it got to the night before, 4 tickets sold. We're just like, fuck's sake. And it was actually my birthday that night. And Baze said to me, he's like, I'm not going to be here, and I'm not going to be here for it. And I'm like, well, it's my birthday. We sold 4 tickets. I'm not going. So I had a birthday meal, and I phoned up. So actually, she still laughs to this day. I phoned up one of my friends, Neve, and I said, look, what are you doing tonight? I need someone to run this party for me and do the door. And she's like, okay, like, used to, nights I've done before where they've been pretty busy and stuff. And she turns up to this club, and the 4 people that had bought tickets, it was their 18th birthday, and they'd got hotels and everything. They come from Fife.
Oh my god.
And they come to this Michael Jackson tribute night, and absolutely dead. And Neve was just sitting on the door,
I want to take all the abuse.
So embarrassed.
Who DJ'd it?
Peter Quinn. He wasn't too happy as well, and I ended up just turning my phone off. But she still pissed me off.
I actually had a shocker at the Libelle as well when I got booked to play an ABBA tribute night. But I wasn't told it was that. I was just told it was a disco night. So I've turned up and USB packing the disco, and I've turned up and they've got this banner above the stage saying ABBA. I was like, okay, maybe it's just about decoration. So, and I started chatting to the promoter, and he was like, yeah, so you got loads of ABBA? And I was like, nah, I've got 3 songs, if that. And he was like, you know this is an ABBA night? And I was like, fuck. So I got to the stage, it was that bad that people were actually booing me because I ABBA. So I'm standing there like a fucking idiot, just playing anything I could find. I played Dancing Queen 6 times during the night. And then the manager comes up to me at the end, he was like, look, people are leaving, people are asking for refunds, and it's not my fucking fault, I didn't know it was an ABBA night.
You weren't briefed.
So I'm standing there and I'm like, right, what can we do? And he was like, I've got my laptop. I was like, okay. We just put Spotify. So I was mixing into Spotify, one deck into Spotify, and then back off, and it was a fucking nightmare that. Somebody chucked a glass at me at the end and everything. It was that bad.
Yeah, so I mean, you were saying off air there about your crazy time, some of the tour stories with Claire.
Yeah.
Share it with our fans.
Let me have a think of one. A few. Okay.
PG one.
So we were playing in Belgium. Where were we again? We were in Antwerp, yeah. And we were playing back-to-back, and when we started playing, we were very sober, and then I think we just progressively got more and more drunk as we played, and obviously I'm quite short and Claire's quite a bit taller than me, so I needed the little step to be on to DJ, and then that kind of just everything just got a bit messy, and she kept picking me up, and we were just like, hey, this is great, spinning around, and then it just kind of got a bit out of hand, and we came off stage, we were really drunk, and we were like, I don't know, just started smashing things. Claire decided it would be really fucking punk to try and smash her own phone. So she tried. So I don't know. So that was a little bit rock and roll. Yeah. I guess that's the danger of having
One too many shandies.
a big rider that you can just kind of dip in for hours as you play back to back.
So what's on your rider?
These days,
yeah.
these days it's, I mean, yeah, one day when we go back to touring, I mean, I actually have a mix of quite a lot of alcohol-free stuff now, and
Coconut water.
I have coconut water and kombucha and alcohol-free beer, and I try and be a lot healthier these days, and then maybe like a few treats, just a few shots while I'm playing or something, but yeah.
Not to smashing phone level.
No, I think those days are behind me.
We've got some mental stories of getting a bit too worse for wear gigs.
Too many.
I mean, I remember when I was playing in, I don't think you were there, but I was playing in Ibiza, Ibiza Rocks, and one of my mates ran a night there, so he literally said to me, he's like, look, come and play, and I was like, this is class. Obviously first time playing in Ibiza, and went and played it, and I was only there for like the night, and we were going back the next day, and went with my mate. We just flew over. We thought, it was to just play a gig, thinking we're touring DJs or anything like that, and just mental night, and ended up getting lost in Ibiza and trying to find our way home, because we were staying in this villa. It was like this house, trying to find our way home, like for hours, just walking the farm roads of Ibiza, and and just trying to find a taxi. Like, where the fuck are we? Just finding these random boys trying to sell us gear and that, and that was.
Your one with when we done the pilot episode when you got lost in Leith. When your phone, like in December, your phone had died, and you got lost in Leith. You had to walk all the way.
Oh no, that's what when we were like planning this. It was when the first lockdown happened, but things got eased, and then we went to Candy Bar or something. We're chatting to Lewis about like how we were going to do this project, because it is, it's not a Zoom call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of planning, as you can see. And yeah, we ended up having a big night there, and I wasn't meant to, so I'm staying in Perth at the minute, and I drove through. I wasn't planning on drinking. Drove through my mum's car, because I think mine was in the garage. So she had a people carrier at the time. So I drove through in this Ford Galaxy, parked it out.
You're the wagon.
Parked it out at the park and ride. Got the tram in. Was planning to come home, and obviously we ended up at Candy Bar. One thing led to another, and ended up needing somewhere to stay. So I stayed at some friend's house in Leith. But at this point, my phone died, and there was no charges in the flat.
There seems to be like a common thing with you, the phone dying.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're not smashing them,
Fair play.
Phone dies, and I'm sitting there like, where the fuck am I? Because you usually just look on your phone. It's like, I need to get on that tram to get back at Park and Ride. And at this point, I was like, I looked at, I knew that cars could get towed from the Park and Ride if they were left overnight. And I'm like, my mum's fucking people carriers in the car park, and I have no idea. So all I need to do is get on that tram. But obviously, I didn't know any of the bus routes or anything.
Lost in the depths of Leith.
And my head was fucking killing me, and I was in some condition, and ended up just walking for hours, just trying to find some sort of landmark I knew, because I didn't even know what bus, the number of the bus that would go into town. So eventually, after walking for a good while, found some landmark. Was sitting on that tram, and I was just like, I know that tram's going to come into that car park, and the car's going to be gone, and my mum's going to go absolutely fucking nuts. And I got there, and it was there, and I was just like, fucking hell. But that does happen quite a lot as well.
Yeah. Well, not just now. I think I've got to change my approach to partying after lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously with Odyssey, we've had quite a lot of big after parties when we were running the nights.
I just remember a similar story kind of in the same sort of vibe as your Michael Jackson kind of.
Ruining 18th birthdays, yeah.
It was just, I mean, obviously, just like putting on nights can be a big fucking gamble sometimes. And for some reason, I just, Halloween nights are either, a sellout or they can just flop. And like that's almost bigger than New Year's Eve sometimes in terms of like promotion. So I decided to put on a night rave, but it would be a Halloween one. So it's Night Grave.
Yeah, okay.
And it, it was great. So I booked Techie Latex, and it was like a really, and a few other people. So
was it on Halloween night?
Yeah, it was on Halloween. So we thought, great, that would be a fucking sellout, would be amazing. So both me and Techie dressed in like Game of Thrones characters. So I was Khaleesi and he was Varys, and like the place, like I really went into detail. I got these like medieval looking goblets for the drinks and like everything. And I think and then I think it was maybe a week before, like really, I think maybe a week before was like a last minute announcement, like Seth Roxler was playing like literally down the road, and I knew that is gonna fucking ruin me. But I thought it would maybe be a bit better if we were both there. And at that point, I've like decorated the club with like fucking spider webs. I put so much love into this, and I'm there dressed as Khaleesi. I ordered the wig. It was like a proper cosplay wig. I paid like 50 quid just for that wig, and then.
What did you do for the dragons?
I made them. I think I had the dragon, but I had like all the other stuff and pendants, and I made a skirt out of fucking special fabric and stuff. And Techie was like amazingly dressed, and and I'm there waiting for people to come through, and I think we sold like 10 pre-sales, and I was like, fuck, I knew. And that when you just wait at the door, and I was just looking at the door, and there in my fucking Khaleesi outfit, and just like, shit. And people didn't come.
It's the worst.
They didn't. And then I just went out and I got a lot of people in for free from Max's, and but that's the game of promoting, isn't it? You just don't know what you're going to get, and that was supposed to be a complete success, but then I think that night being announced just like tipped everything over. But it was just the extra kind of comedy value that we were just like so dressed up and everything.
I think no, you're totally right about the promoting side. That's one of it's brutal, and I think I used to run weeklies at Cabval, like in 2016, and I found that the weekly nights were just so hard because you'd have like one mental night and you're on cloud nine and you make lots of money from it, and then the next three would be like no one would show. And the worst as a promoter is like when you're at the door, as you say, like people go in and they're just like, they go in and they walk straight out.
Oh God,
just like, you're sitting there at the door, you're like, fuck, and they're like, where is everyone? And it's those cheeky comments like, where is everyone? I'm like, what? I was like, where is everyone? And
suddenly lockdown doesn't seem quite so bad.
And then what I used to sometimes do is like, obviously the night would be on and it'd be fucking 12 o'clock, there'd be no one there. So I used to just walk away. I used to go in just the pub and sit in the pub till about half one on my own, drinking a pint, and then just walk.
Can't take the pressure.
And then sometimes I'd walk around and there was a queue, and I'm like, fucking yes. But no, promoting is the worst. And I think for advice for people, it's not to be disheartened by the lows, because it can be easy to, like those. I had so many of those nights, and eventually you kind of learn. Like I stopped doing those weekly nights. I changed the brand and I went to monthly, and then I made sure the monthly nights were like a guest, and they were all kind of mostly sellouts, to be honest. But I think it's about not being disheartened about it.
Consistent.
And DJing as well when no one's there. I mean,
nothing worse. You get that white cunt that comes in and is dancing next to the nobody there.
I'd do anything to just DJ to no one at the minute in a club. But I remember, you'll be the same playing in a club, and it's just like gets to 1 o'clock and you're just like, it's brutal. But I mean, what are some of the sort of nights you've done
No, that one was definitely the worst. But I mean, when I started DJing properly playing out, I was playing at Castle Pub at the time, just playing in the second room. Didn't even have decks to work, I had to bring my own decks. I was getting paid like 80 quid the whole night, and then maybe get like 3 people come in that room, and it was shocking. Half the sound system didn't work, so you had to have the pan all the way over to the left to get it like to actually sound it right. It was just a fucking travesty, that place.
And the Halloween night, like, what, you know, was it pretty dead then?
I mean, in the end, we managed to get a bunch of people in to fill it up, you know, but it was just not the kind of fantasy that I had, and you know, it's this whole. I think it was just the fact that I was like dressed up as Khaleesi and everything. It was just like the whole thing was just very kind of, you know, fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm theme tune playing in the back kind of thing. Like, but you need those nights, and then when it, you know, it's quite addictive, isn't it? Like when it goes right, it's the best feeling in the world.
It's amazing.
You just need to take these things, and it's not your fault. You know, sometimes it would, especially in towns like Edinburgh and Glasgow, there's a lot of competition. There's too much. It's saturated, but I think maybe after lockdown, people would just go out every night, everywhere. So maybe it's a golden era to be a promoter.
So maybe resurface Nightwave.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, Nightwave. You know, we've been doing really, we always do well, but it's just sometimes it's a sellout on advance tickets. Sometimes it's, you know.
So how many advance tickets can you sell? What's the? It's.
Well, the Cheetah is it was like 220 cap, I think, something like that. So we do some advance and then some.
And how do you sort of price it then?
God, I feel like I'm being really interrogated here. Depends who's playing. Are you stealing tricks or something? Or?
No.
How do you price it?
Well, I price it depending on how much. I suppose.
How much for the Michael Jackson night?
That was £5. Yeah.
20 quid profit.
Say no more.
Yeah, but I suppose I done Thursday nights predominantly, and I priced it. Like obviously most of the events I did were at Cab Hall, so we'd end up booking artists. Usually the average we paid was about £3 grand probably, around that, which is a lot for Cab Hall. So we priced it about 10-15 quid because like obviously you've got to make money back, and it's like you can, you know, it's not a big capacity. But we found that was quite good because the strategy with that is there was not, at that point in time, in 2016, for a couple of years, there wasn't, for instance, there wasn't Fly Open Air, there wasn't Terminal V, so big festivals, so it was easier to get guests that would come and play, because you often find now with the bigger festivals, people will be booked for these festivals, and then it means that they've got a lock on, they can't play any club shows. So at that point in time, I kind of found a good market because I was doing stuff midweek which wasn't happening with big guests, and so it was reasonably priced for students. You could see a big guest in like an intimate setting. You had different rooms, so you'd our main guest, and then you'd have like residents in the cafe in room 2. So, and I always didn't want to put loads of people on, like in terms of warming up. I didn't want to book extra people. I wanted really to be resident heavy and promote you know, up and coming DJs, and that worked well because it was a great vibe, and you didn't get those weekend warriors that you get in the weekends, you know. And that's, you know, so there was a good crowd. So yeah, that's sort of how we priced it, and
I think that's fair, and also I think people are kind of a bit spoiled and expect to pay less. I mean, that's just kind of what I found in Glasgow, you know, and the prices haven't really changed, you know, the last 10 years. And if you think about how the costs are going up and everything, I think it's fair to charge a bit more, you know, like sometimes people like shocked to pay £10, which I think that's very reasonable, especially when the drinks are pretty affordable, you know, in Glasgow.
Yeah.
But hopefully now, after lockdown especially, people will be happy to support and be more aware of, you know, what's needed.
Well, what people don't realise as well as a promoter, you'll know yourself, is people don't realise that if you do an event, that's your whole month of work.
Yeah.
And they don't realise. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, you made loads of money tonight." I was like, "Well, actually, if you look at the
It's
month."
usually the people that were begging for guest lists.
Yeah,
that
and I always hated saying no to people, like, and so I literally gave away loads of free guest lists.
That's how we lose money.
Yeah, you lose money.
It's just hard to say no. Yeah.
And then when a night's not selling well, you expect people to come support you when it's the big DJ that everyone wants to come and see. It doesn't necessarily happen, but.
The fuck? The fuck did that come from?
Is this a sign? Is it?
But no, I'm not really looking to get back into promoting the way I was doing before, just because the stress and it's too much. I prefer the reason I got into promoting was the music, like solely because I came through to Edinburgh and I wanted to DJ, but like no one was giving me a gig because obviously they don't know you or anything. So
his outfit.
It's my outfit, yeah. I don't usually wear this, man. But yeah, no one was giving me a gig, so just because obviously they didn't know me or anything, and then I was like, right, I'll go and do my own
Yeah, that's
thing.
a good way to do it, DIY, and
then I got
start your
bookings
own
off the
thing.
back of that because you then do something successful, relatively successful, and do it that way. But I'm not, I'd like to go and do like unique events, like one-off things. I mean, is that something you've thought about with your rave, like different venues and?
Yeah, I mean, we did even with Nightwave. We did stuff abroad. I did a Nightwave in Vienna, and in my hometown in Slovenia. We did one in Venice. I did one in Edinburgh and Sneaky Pete's. But again, it's just like I'm very cautious of how much the stuff on my plate, because I'm very aware of burnout and just doing too much and being overwhelmed. So I think like well-being is priority now. So moving forward, I'm never going to have as much stuff on as I used to in the past. I mean, that was just ridiculous.
And do you not have anyone that helps you with the nights?
Well, we do the La Chita one. We do it's a La Chita collaboration, so that definitely helps. But I just have so many things, and I have stuff that's like outside music, and it's just a lot. So I'll just take it easy.
Yeah, you want a clear mind. I mean,
I've got records to make as well, so it's like, I think I have to prioritize making music maybe over other things, and I think like making music is probably the priority over other things.
What are you working on right now?
Just there's no goal, I'm just kind of working on stuff that I can then put together and release, but I'm just like not planning anything too tightly right now, just because everything is kind of up in the air as well. But I'm always working on stuff, and I'm working on remixes and
And see with a track, like I often find that sometimes you'll get an idea in your head, and you can, if you're really feeling it, you can make it in like a day. Or do you kind of sit on projects for a while?
Some stuff I've not finished and it's been 5 years. Some stuff I can make, in an hour. It just really, really varies. I think because I used to travel a lot, I got used to just working on the go and working with my laptop and, just have that kind of process. So, and now I'm just I have weeks where I'm just working all the time, and then I have like a month where I can't even look at Ableton because I'm just so sick of it, or it's very up and down. But somehow with all this kind of chaos, in the end, I managed to release music every now and then. So last year, even though it was lockdown and everything, I had 2 EPs out and quite a lot of remixes and mixes and compilations. So I stayed busy, but it's just, everything's a bit weird now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're rounding things up. What advice would you give to the younger DJs and producers?
Follow this is maybe a little bit, I feel like fucking Yoda here or something, but follow your passion and your bliss without the expectation of the outcome. Don't compare yourself. Don't leave your fucking day job straight away. Stay grounded.
With a clear vision.
It's just really important because it's so easy to get lost and compare yourself, and especially now that everyone's just on their phone, even like lockdown, people
it's
just
an addiction,
it really affects your mental health. So focus on the music, unless your whole thing is just that you're, some kind of character or caricature and brand yourself like that. But if music is your thing, just do whatever you can to learn about it. If you're an artist, learn about the industry is really important. Learn about publishing, management, royalties. Fucking don't get fucked over by people. All this kind of stuff. So that first, Instagram and all that other shit here. That's my advice.
That's a good way to round everything up. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. I've had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Cheers.